This is one of my favourite looking boots of the year, but it's also a little bit 2 steps forward and 1 step back for Umbro and their brand new Velocita Decima, which, let's be honest, it's a very cool name for a boot. So for sizing, we've gone 2 steps forward and 1 step back. With Umbro boots, I have found for the longest time on their modern boots that they tend to run a little bit narrow and a little bit long, this being the previous generation Velocita Matrix that did exactly that. Narrow in the midfoot, a little bit long in the length. Here what we have is we have a floating tongue. So this means it's no longer narrow through this midfoot area. It's going to fit a lot more people. It's much more flexible. Honestly, this is a huge improvement and I absolutely love it. The boots also do not run long. They do, however, run short. So I would normally buy a USA UK 7 26cm boot. Here in the Velocita Decima, I have a US 8.5, UK 7.5, 26.5 centimeters. So I'm up half a size here. Now, I absolutely could not have worn that kind of normal size for me. It would have been way too tight. And even at half a size up, my toes are right on the end of the boot. So in length terms, half size up is perfect and it's what I would recommend for most people. However, we do also have to consider that this upper, now admittedly I've only given it like a session and a half, so it may bed in a little bit more, but this upper, especially on this toe area, is a little bit stiff. So I've actually had a little bit of a pressure point just here, kind of a little bit of discomfort just over my big toe. And because I have a wider foot, that would probably only be solved by going up another half size. So because these are so tight, I could get away with that, but that would mean going up an entire size from normal. So here's my advice. If you have a regular width or a narrower foot, go up half a size. If you have a wide foot, you're probably going to want to go up an entire size, and it will leave you with approximately a quarter to a half sizes worth of length on the end of the boot. So some big improvements, not long anymore, great midfoot fit, but a little bit of a pressure point here, and overall the shorter sizing is kind of just going to confuse people a little bit. Speaking of that upper and kind of the little bit of stiffness here, this is actually one of the things that I quite like about the boot. It feels like a really refined version of what we got on the previous generation. It's not as kind of gritty, it's much finer, more refined. It's still got a nice amount of texture to it. It's a little bit thinner. It's much better balanced and more structured. And I love the internal liner. The internal liner they've used is so plush. It's so well done, and it adds a really nice uniform amount of structure throughout the entire boot. They've gone ahead and taken cutouts out of that liner to kind of reduce weight up and around this area here. And I think it's really well done. Now, it's not the softest upper in the world, this textile, but it does mean that you feel very well secure in the boot. The lockdown, the stabilization is all very, very good. And you get a nice direct touch on the ball. Whatever you put in is exactly what you get out without it ever getting in your way because of this ever so slightly grippy, ever so slightly matte finish. I think it's really, really nice. Now, it's not stupid thin, it's not crazy barefoot, but it is definitely a more direct, more barefoot touch while being on the solid side. And that is a feeling, a sensation that I really enjoy. I just have this problem where they seem to have tried to add reinforcement around the toe box just here. You can even kind of see it right here. It's this kind of edge just here. It sits underneath the upper and above the liner, and it provides this kind of extra space, so you get the extra volume in here, but it's just very stiff, and a bit uncomfortable, and I need that to be a lot softer to fix that pressure point issue that I have, make the whole boot fit really well, and mean that I don't have to go up that extra half a size, because I think what they have in the upper here, if it beds in as well as I think it will, is going to be very good. Taking a look at the outsole, we haven't made any steps forward or backwards, because it's exactly the same as the previous generation. So it's a dual density outsole using the Pebax material, and honestly, it's decent. Like, this is reasonable amount of snackback. It's nothing crazy. It's got a good amount of stability through the midfoot. It is probably the best outsole I've seen on an Umbro Velocita for quite some time. It's well built in terms of the studs, the stud shape, the stud pattern. It's aggressive enough. I like this. I think this is good. Maybe not as aggressive as you might expect for a speed boot, but I think that's completely fine. Now, can you use this on an AG pitch? I would not recommend it. This has just got studs that are too long for an AG pitch. Now, for Umbro, who maybe aren't in that like echelon of obviously like your Nikes, your Adidases, your Pumas anymore, they probably aren't going to start developing multiple outsoles for each individual boot. So for me, I think they'd be better off adjusting this and developing it into an FG-AG option. Don't go quite so aggressive with the length of the studs. Make some more of these conical and make it an FG-AG option, and make it something that's going to appeal to far more people rather than just focusing on one FG boot. I think that would be excellent, and I think overall this boot could be a really good all-rounder if you just did that. Now, onto something I don't particularly like, which is this heel. You can kind of see from here, this is a very wide heel design, and it's also got a very hard internal plastic heel counter with very big kind of padded section here and no padding anywhere else. And again, I just mentioned that Umbro are very much not that kind of big brand in terms of, you know, your Nikes, your Adidas, your Pumas, that they used to be in, say, the 90s when it comes to football boots. So I think this is maybe just trying to be too clever about it. We didn't need to go through this. The boot didn't need to be this kind of wide, I suppose, and we don't need to rely on this style of padding. A turn and stitch heel would have been amazing. Just go with what works. Turn and stitch in the heel. I think this is fine, but it is very hard. It's a very solid heel counter, especially in this area just down here, and you are going to get a little bit of heel pressure, especially to start with. I just don't think that this is, again, we're going backwards here. This isn't steps forwards when compared to what we got on the previous generation. The previous generation even had little grip dots all the way through the padding, very similar to what Skechers do with their SKX2 model. You've lost all of that here. You've lost a lot of the padding. You've increased the heel width. The lockdown's not as good, and I just think it's something that they needed to refine rather than completely rework. They've got, I feel like Umbro have got such good ideas and they just don't quite nail enough of them, or they change certain things that they didn't need to change. I think if you get rid of this kind of design here, run the whole thing into a turn and stitch heel, more traditional through the back, this would be far better. We don't need to worry about hitting this kind of like speed boot aesthetic and these little kind of heel pods anymore. I think we just have to make a really great boot, because the foundation of it is right here with this tongue, with this upper material. Like, this could be so good. They're just missing like that last 10-20% to really nail it home. So we've kind of covered a couple of times there Umbro in comparison to some other brands and how in certain aspects they can compete, but Umbro are also not the brand that they were in the football boot world in the 90s. So I think being priced at £210, this is going to be a barrier for an awful lot of people. Umbro are doing a lot of great stuff here that would potentially compete with some of those brands that are charging up and around those amounts, but I just don't think people are spending that kind of money on an Umbro boot. It's an unfortunate state where Umbro don't have the brand power anymore to justify claiming or asking for £210 for their top end speed boot. You've got things like, for example, the New Balance Furon V8, that's coming in at $220, and New Balance are definitely up there as one of the big 3 or 4 brands. You've got things like the Sakito Scudetta at £180. You've got the Skechers the Skechers Razor 1.5 at £190. So Umbro are very much positioning themselves in the middle of those next tier down brands up outside of Nike and Adidas, but I'm not sure they've got the brand pull. They don't have the brand allure to actually make people go ahead and pick up an Umbro boot. And in order to do that, they have to get every single element right. They can't afford to have little mistakes like maybe the heel or this kind of little stiff area just here, or the sizing being off. In order for Umbro to justify £210, I think they have to be perfect, and that is a very tall order, even if they do have the basis for a very good boot.